feel like such an official YouTuber now because for years I've seen YouTubers with electric bikes, and now I finally have an electric bike. Full circle, everyone. All right, I guess there's just one thing left to do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no on the hat.
I think it's cool.
It's disrespectful. Take it off. That's all I got. You're lucky I didn't work out today.
All right, we are back here at the village, and let me tell you, we have officially broken ground, and oh my God, it is such a beautiful day out here at the village that shall not be named because we don't have a name, but you can give me a couple of suggestions down below. And before we get too far into today's episode, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Espen for hooking me up with their Flow electric bike. Literally since I've moved here, I've been wanting to get something to get me up and down the property because I live at the top of a mountain, and walking down from that mountain all the way down here 5 times a day gets me in decent shape, but it also gets very old. So with that, let's talk about some of the progress we've made in the tiny house village. I feel like a mountain biker, except I don't have to do any work. It's beautiful. So here's where we're at. We have officially gotten our entire site plan, master planned by a civil engineer. He has stamped it, and literally in 2 days, I am going to the city to submit an application for my permit. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm going in front of the town hall, in front of the entire city. This is where my neighbors, the fellow citizens, and all the Karens can come and shoot down my idea if they want to. And then I'm gonna have a hearing in front of the panel, and they will either say yes or no to my tiny house glamping development.
Boo this man!
Now, in speaking with some of the people behind the desk, we're not really anticipating there's gonna be much opposition to this development. But as we all know, nothing ever goes according to plan in the Robuilt YouTube channel. So I'm anticipating that it's probably not gonna go perfectly, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Now, whenever you're doing construction or developments or tiny house villages and all that kind of stuff, it's really important to try to, hold on. Go back. Now, it's very important whenever you're developing tiny house villages and glamp sites and all that kind of stuff to parallel path as much as you can. And so in an effort to stay somewhat on the same timeline, because I've already been in Gatlinburg, Tennessee here for about 6 months now, my plan was to leave by December, but the only way to possibly stay on track was to get started. So we have broken as much ground as possible without having to get a permit. And the reason we did this is because we had an arborist out a couple weeks ago that wanted to come out and start clearing out all of the dangerous trees that impose a threat on all the possible tree houses that we're going to be building in this little community. And then on top of that, so many of these trees have poison ivy and so many other kind of small diseases. Now that we've cleared everything out, we're going to have an arborist come back out and actually start treating the trees by injecting them with steroids, and then also cutting off 4-foot sections from the poison ivy that's on all the different trees out here so that that poison ivy can start dying over time. So this is interesting. We actually cleared a lot of the trees that were dangers, but we don't remember this tree actually leaning quite so far this way. And now I don't know if I'm in my head about it or not, but
this one's nice.
if this continues to lean pretty far, I mean, it's a hardwood, so I'm less worried about it. That's typically what the arborist has stated, is that anything that's a hardwood typically has deeper roots, and so it has less of a chance of falling. But I don't know, this is pretty tilted, so we may have to remove this, which is a bummer. We don't really like removing trees unless we have to, but it all comes down to safety out here. We actually got a couple of different quotes whenever we wanted to clear the land, and both quotes came in at about $16,000 and $25,000 to come out to cut down 33 trees, mulch some of them, and haul them away. But that just wasn't sitting right with me, and I love my arborist. She does great work. She's gonna come out and actually treat some of these trees, but I felt like I could get a better deal. And so I actually called my neighbor Russell, and he hooked it up for $5,000. He did the entire job in a week. Him and his neighbor came out and literally cleared out 33 trees. And on top of that, instead of hauling it, I really wanted to try to use as much of the nature as possible for this land when it came to the landscaping. So we actually ended up wood chipping quite a bit of the trees here. And so while all of these trees aren't still standing here, they'll still kind of have a home here, and all the different footpaths, landscaping, hardscaping that's gonna show up throughout the village. So $5,000 is a huge savings. We did spend about $3,000 on a mini excavator and a wood chipper. So all in all, we spent about $18,000, but we still saved anywhere from 18 to 9. Hold on, let's try that again. We saved anywhere from 8,000 to, I got this, don't you dare correct me, 16 plus another, what's 8 plus 9, 17. We saved anywhere from $8,000 to $17,000. Is that right? Yes, I did it. which honestly did have me thinking that, considering that it cost me about $1,500 to rent a wood chipper and a mini excavator, and those machines can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, I'm like, should I just start an equipment company where I rent out excavators and bobcats and stuff? I mean, the ROI on that stuff is crazy. If you own an equipment rental, hit me up. I want to learn more about this business. This will be where I make millions, apparently. And gnat extermination. All right, let's go check out the rest of the village. All right, you know, I have always wanted like electric things when I was a kid, but my dad never let me. My dad was a doctor and he would never let me get on anything that he deemed as dangerous, so I was always kind of bummed out. But this bike is like me making up for lost time. Here in a second, we're gonna talk about all the different sites that we have proposed now, because everything is always shifting in this tiny house village, but we're getting to a point where we actually have final ideas, finalizations, final concepts. We're landing on final concepts here on what we're actually building out here. And then I'll also break down some of the costs that we've incurred along the way. But before we do that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Espen. Now, I had a couple of options whenever I was choosing the perfect bike for me. There's the Nesta, which folds in half very neatly. It's perfect for tiny house living, but given that I don't have a tiny house at this exact moment, I chose the Flow because that's better for all-terrain environments, especially since this tiny house village is like, look over here, there's so many hills, rocks, there's mulch, there's logs everywhere. What's up?
You caught me daydreaming. I did not follow you at all.
So I actually decided to go with the Flow model, which is their all-terrain bike, which is perfect because this tiny house village has got so many rocks, hills, mulch, mountains, logs everywhere. Have I already said logs? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. It doesn't matter. Obviously, this thing handles the environment like a champ. If you want to learn more about Espen bikes, I'm gonna leave a link down in the description for you to check out. Follow me this way, Clinton. So if you look over here, we got a big old scrap pile of wood because we built a prototype A-frame.
We built an A-frame. We built the A-frame.
To feel out the size and see how it was gonna fit in this actual space. We didn't build it very good on purpose because it's just a prototype, but the real one will be much more structurally sound, I think. So that A-frame is gonna go up in the trees. It's gonna be an A-frame tree house. Really excited about that. We've got our pizza slices over here. If you remember from a couple episodes ago, the pizza slice is basically gonna be a triangular deck, 2 levels. Level 1 is gonna be a 30-foot geodome. That's gonna be about 14 feet in the air. No, 10 feet in the air. And then level 2 will be 16 feet in the air. And that's gonna be a 20-foot geodome. And then over here, we have 3 safari tents slated. Now, this one is still shifting a bit. We're either gonna do 3 elevated safari tents that can host 3 different groups, or we're gonna do a super epic 2-story safari tent. Really, that's gonna depend on availability and a few things. And I will say that for this geodome pizza slice, a lot of people have been asking, we're gonna be working with Pacific Domes on the pizza slice. And then we've got a couple spots over here allotted that are still kind of up in the air, but we're thinking we're gonna do treehouse cocoons. Again, this one's gonna depend. I know that we're finalizing concepts, but it's really gonna come down to some of those permitting nitty-gritties and what the county will allow us. We'll know a lot more in a couple weeks from now, but that's sort of the lay of the land for now. So let's head inside and start talking about some of the costs. Anyway, we're back in the office and it's definitely the same day. And as promised, I wanted to walk you through all of the different expenses that we've incurred so far on the tiny house glamping village. Now, we'll say the majority of these costs are engineering fees. So far, we've hired 4 different specialty engineers, and I think we're gonna hire another one by the time this is over, but it's all good. It's all in the name of safety. So far, I've paid my civil engineer $900, and I predict we're gonna pay another $4,000, so we're at about $4,900 there. Structural engineering fees will come out to about $8,000. My soils report from when my soil scientist came out to perk the test to tell us what kind of septic tank we can install and how much people can poop and all that jazz. Who is this character, by the way? We've got Russell, my neighbor, who made it all nice and open down there so we could actually start building once we get there. Equipment fees for that job was $3,000, $1,500 for a wood chipper, $1,500 for mini excavator. Our arborist fee to come out to the site and actually diagnose the trees and give us, you know, the lay of the land and tell us which ones to chop down and all that stuff, $400. And then lastly, we've got our geotechnical engineer, who is the person that came out to bore holes in the ground and tell us like how compact the soils are and like what kind of footings and what kind of loads the soil can handle and all that jazz, for a grand total of $24,800. That is what we've spent so far, and we haven't even gone into permitting. Isn't construction fun, y'all? Anyway, so tomorrow I'm actually going to the permitting office to officially file my permit for this PUD, also known as a planned unit development. But the good news here is that that's only gonna cost $150. Perfect world, we get a yes 2 weeks from now, and we break ground in September, and I'm scared to even say that out loud because I don't want to curse myself by putting it out into the universe. Man, I'm really weird tonight.
Whoa, Rob, slow down. You're acting weird.
I got a fever.
The only prescription's for you to shut your hole.
Duly noted, Christopher. Anyway, this is the bulk of our expenses right now, $25,000 roughly. Once we start incurring the next batch of expenses, I'll obviously keep you updated. And that's today's video. I thought it'd be pretty fun if we ended abrupt.
Not after a hearty burger breakfast. Keep your legs fresh. You're gonna thank me later.
All right, I guess there's just one thing left to do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
And
no on the
on
hat.
cape.
I think it's cool.
Take that off. It's disrespectful.
disrespectful. Take it
Spider-Man
off.
doesn't wear a cape.